The road into central Greece narrowed to a strip between steep rock and the sea, Thermopylae, the hot gates. On a gray morning in 480 BCE, dust rose in the distance and rolled forward like weather. It wasn't a storm, it was the Persian army, marching in perfect rhythm toward the pass. At the front of the Greek line stood King Leonidas of Sparta. 300 Spartans took position beside him, shields edge to edge. Around and behind them gathered a few thousand allies from other cities, Thespians, Thebans, men from Phocis, Corinth, and Arcadia, sent by the Hellenic League to block the road. They all knew why they were here. If the Persians broke through Thermopylae, the road to central Greece lay open. The threat had been building for a year. Xerxes, king of the Persian Empire, wanted payback for his father Darius's failure at Marathon. He ordered bridges thrown across the Hellespont, dug a canal through Athos to avoid bad seas, and summoned troops from across the empire. Ancient writers boasted of millions. Modern estimates are smaller, but it was still one of the largest armies the ancient world ever saw. Infantry from Medea and Persia, archers from India, Egyptian heavy troops, Bactrian cavalry, and the royal guard. The immortals, 10,000 strong. A fleet of hundreds of ships sailed along the coast, carrying supplies and more soldiers. The plan was simple. Overwhelm Greece with numbers, speed, and fear. The Greeks had their own plan. Hold Xerxes at Thermopylae on land while the fleet fought him at sea near Artemisium. Buy time. Delay the advance. Force the Persians to bleed for every mile. Thermopylae was chosen because the pass was narrow. It didn't matter how many troops Xerxes had. Only a few could fight at once, and that took away the advantage of numbers. On the first day of battle, Persian infantry advanced into the gap with shields up and spears ready. Leonidas's orders were short and clear. Stand firm. Let them come in. Then push. The Spartan-led phalanx braced, then stepped forward as one, long spears stabbing over the shield line. The front ranks of Persians fell. Those behind them got tangled in the crush. The Greeks didn't chase. They held the formation, let pressure build, and shoved it back in measured steps. Xerxes sent fresh units, then better units, then more of them. The Medes were turned. The Scythians were turned. In the afternoon, he committed the immortals, the elite guard dressed in fine armor and carrying sturdy bows and short spears. They were used to breaking enemies with speed and confidence. In the tight ground, their shorter reach didn't help. The Greek spears were longer. The shields were heavier. The discipline was iron. The immortals were pushed back with heavy losses. By nightfall, the pass was a strip of trampled dirt and bodies. The Greeks pulled back in good order. Casualties on their side were light. They repaired shields, reset spearheads, drank water, and held the line through the dark. Down the coast, the Greek fleet was clashing with Persian ships off Artemisium. If Thermopylae held, the navy could keep fighting. Day 2 started the same way. The Persians tried arrows first, so many that a Spartan joked they would fight in the shade. The Greeks ducked behind their shields and waited it out. When the rain of arrows slowed, the Persians charged. The phalanx met them. Push, stab, step. The rhythm held. When a spear broke, a soldier transitioned to sword without losing his place in the formation. When the front line tired, fresh men moved up, and the tired men dropped back. All morning, then all afternoon, the Persians tried to force the gap. All morning, then all afternoon, they failed. The impasse would not last. A local man named Ephialtes walked into the Persian camp with news: a mountain path around the pass. The Phocians had been posted there as a guard, but the Persians sent a column by night along the trail. Before dawn on day 3, Greek scouts warned Leonidas that enemy troops had come over the ridge behind them. Thermopylae was now a trap. Leonidas called a council. He could withdraw and save most of the army, but the enemy would crash into their retreat and scatter the force. He chose to hold the mouth of the pass with a small group so the larger body could get away. He dismissed the bulk of the allies and kept the 300 Spartans with him. 700 Thespians refused to leave. A small Theban contingent stayed as well. They knew what staying meant. The men prepared themselves without drama. Spartans combed their hair, as they were taught to do before battle. They cleaned armor, checked the straps on their sandals, and ate. Leonidas moved along the line, speaking to squads by name. No speeches, just reminders. Keep the shields locked. Keep the feet set. Step when the man to your right steps. When the Persians came on the third day, they had forces at the front and at the rear. Leonidas did not wait to be crushed between them. He led a hard charge forward to break the units in front before the rear column could close. The narrow ground opened a bit near the Greek camp, which let more Persians enter the fight at once. The Spartans and Thespians drove into them anyway. Spears shattered, swords went dull and nicked. Men switched to daggers, picked up dropped weapons, or used the edges of broken spears as stabbing points. The fighting turned hand to hand, then body to body. Leonidas died in the press, whether by spear or arrow isn't certain. The Persians surged to seize his body. The Greeks counterattacked and pulled it back inside the line. That moment mattered. Protecting a king's body was a point of honor as much as tactics. They formed a ring around him and kept fighting. The rear Persian column finally arrived. The defenders fell back toward a small hill. There was no room to rotate ranks. There were no fresh men to bring forward. They stood and hit back at anything that came close. Xerxes ordered archers to finish it. Arrows fell in dense volleys. When it was done, every man on that hill was down. Thermopylae was a Persian victory on paper. The pass was open. The road into central Greece lay ahead, but the cost and the delay mattered. The Greek fleet fought the Persian navy to a standstill at Artemisium and then withdrew in order. The time bought at Thermopylae let Greek cities prepare. Weeks later, the Greek navy under Themistocles drew the Persian fleet into the straits at Salamis and shattered it. The next year, Greek hoplites beat Persian land forces at Plataea. Xerxes never conquered Greece. What the Spartans and their allies did at Thermopylae wasn't magic. It was training, discipline, and the right ground. The phalanx worked because every man trusted the man next to him. The lane worked because numbers could not help an enemy when the fight narrowed to a few shields across. Leonidas's choice to stay turned a retreat into a shielded withdrawal and turned a local defeat into a strategic delay. The men who stayed were not alone in courage. The Thespians stood to the end. The Thebans stayed under orders. Later sources argue about their loyalty, but many of them died too. The Phocians up on the trail were surprised by the flanking force. They fought and fell back, then rejoined the army later. Thermopylae was not just Sparta, it was a Greek stand with many names. The story lasted because it was simple to tell and hard to forget. A small force held a narrow road against a much larger army. They knew they would die and chose to stay anyway. That choice stiffened the spine of the rest of Greece. It still reads as a clean line in a messy war. Visitors later found a marker near the battlefield with a short message. No long speech, no boast, just an instruction to carry the news home. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. That's Thermopylae. A pass, a plan, and a delay that bought a country time. Thank you for listening to Last Post History. Subscribe for more true stories from the world at war.